back. Another show, Punchy Kiki podcast. Really excited for this one. Earlier this week, we spoke to a EFC debutant. He debuted earlier this week, Steve O'Law. And right now, I'm speaking to another debutant. And kind of surprising to see her on the card. But here she is, right in front of me, Dayne Van Wyk. Thanks so much for your time. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think, firstly, congratulations on making your professional debut. And secondly, congratulations on a professional debut win.
Thank you.
How does that feel to now be classed as a professional fighter?
It kind of feels unreal still. I don't think I've realized still yet that I'm now a professional fighter, but it really feels amazing.
I mean, if we look back at your career, I mean, it's not a very long amateur career. We understand that. You've got a number of fights under your belt. I mean, you are a South African champion, amateur champion. I mean, having recently won at the national championships, the amateur championships here in South Africa. You were scheduled to compete and represent your country at next year's IMF World Champs. And I think everyone was looking forward to seeing the evolution of Dayne and how she was going to get better, because you showed some fantastic skills at the national champs. Also having fought at Alpha and at Versus recently or early this year. For me, I've got to ask, why, number one, a young lady like yourself, why did you want to become a fighter?
I don't know really. It just interested me, like the challenge and to kind of prove to myself that anything is possible, because sometimes I do feel like it's impossible, but I feel like the challenge is what keeps me going. And 3 years ago I watched one of the EFC fights the first time I went, and I saw it, and then I immediately thought that this is what I want to do. And now 3 years after that, and I'm a professional fighter, so that's kind of cool. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's kind of a fantastic journey, a very quick journey from not having started fighting to suddenly become that professional fighter. Your experience as an amateur, would I be wrong in saying that it's difficult for you as a female fighter to actually find sparring partners, training partners, to be able to improve your skill? You probably have to spend most of your time fighting guys.
Yeah, I do, but I have a great team, and all of the guys, they have so much respect for me, and I appreciate all of them. So it's actually really nice to have also those guys, because they are stronger and fitter and faster, and so they make me much better than I would have been if I were fighting with or sparring with other girls. So yeah.
And the fact that you can't find a lot of other female opponents to spar with and to train with, do you feel and find that as a bit of a negative to you, or is it always seen as a positive, fighting against and training and sparring with stronger, bigger guys than other females?
I feel like it's more like a positive to train with guys. You get like something else when fighting with guys, because with girls it's a bit different. But I do have some girls that I spar with, not much, but I feel like it does really help to train with guys, even though it's challenging, and you feel like you're getting nowhere, not improving, but it does help.
And obviously we look at that improvement, we look at that your skill set and what you were able to bring to the cage. I mean, if we go back and look at nationals and your performance at the South African National Championship that took place earlier, when you went into that tournament, obviously you were very much a newbie fighter. You didn't know what to expect, really not sure what you were going to come up against. What was your strategy? What was your team strategy? Obviously, from your coach's point of view, the thinking of how were you going to take on this new challenge, like you said, testing yourself, especially someone like yourself that didn't have a lot of amateur experience going into those national championships?
I think just we basically approached it like any other fight, just to focus on preparing everything and working on everything, and then just focusing on myself where I can improve, and then just going in and give my all. So that's basically how we approached it.
And to come away, obviously, as the champion, I mean, that must have been an absolute awesome experience for you, for the team, obviously for the province as well. But that obviously for you proved that, like you said, anything is possible.
Yeah. It felt also like unreal. I think a lot of times I doubt myself a lot, and to get the win, it's like really a big confidence booster, and to just prove that it's okay to believe in yourself. And so that was nice.
And then the announcement that you were now selected, obviously we knew winning your weight division, you would always be part of the selection for the national team. But then to be selected and see your name on that list to go and represent your country at the upcoming IMF World Championships, another massively proud moment for you, I'm sure. What was your immediate sort of thoughts and preparations once you saw yourself here? Now I'm going to go and potentially get South African colours, represent my country on the biggest fighting stage an amateur can possibly ever hope to achieve.
That was actually we didn't really think about that because I wanted to fight at UFC. So I knew I was going to have to choose between one, and then when doing the IMAF, I already knew like I'm gonna rather fight at UFC. So that competition was just for myself, not really to go overseas and fight there. So it was just to break the ice a bit, because I fought a long time ago still. So
Okay, so your plan was always to join the EFC. So for you, it was no surprise. For us, obviously, expecting to see you in January competing, under the South African banner. Then for me to see you on that card. Obviously, that was a decision that you'd made a while back in terms of going there. So the build up to EFC 90, your professional debut, training, did that change at all? I mean, obviously you've got some pretty decent professional athletes in your camp. Asiya Chitamba is in your camp as well. I mean, Dani Swat, he'd also just recently joined your camp, I understand. He was obviously looking to get his first win. So how did that help you in terms of preparing for your debut?
I feel like it was the same approach. We just trained a bit harder with especially the fitness, because the fights are going to be longer. So I just focus more on fitness and running and so on, and then to try and get more wrestling in and stuff like that. But basically, it stayed the same, the training wise approach.
And knowing that you were going to be making your debut against Kaylee, she'd obviously had a dominant performance over Christine Vormerans in her sort of previous outing in her debut. Did you expect it to be a lot more of a ground battle? Because obviously I expected it to be a lot more of a ground battle, and you absolutely put on a master show of keeping it on your feet and keeping it at range.
Yeah, I did expect a ground fight. Everyone was also telling me that I should expect one, but I'm glad the way the fight turned out and that I could keep it standing. But I feel like my ground is also improved so much, so I feel like I would be fine. Didn't really worry so much about anything. Yeah.
Was that your strategy, to try and keep it standing for as long as possible, and then deal with whatever she brought on the ground? Or was there a different strategy that you guys brought as a team into this fight with Kaylee?
We didn't really have a strategy. I just wanted to focus on myself and not really what the opponent is going to do, because I feel like being you fight, they're fight. So to try and work on what I can do and do my best, and then what I feel comfortable with, I thought if the fight goes to the ground, then I feel like it would be fine. Or if it stays standing, yeah, it didn't really matter as much.
And in terms of the build up to the fight, obviously weigh-ins the day before, you missed weight building up to the fight. Is that something that played on your mind? Was there something that happened in the camp that you struggled with the weight cut? Because for me, it's just interesting to understand your mindset going into the fight, then getting to weigh-ins and then missing weight.
Yes, it was actually my first like proper weight cut, so I never did it before. So I think that's why I didn't really know how much I could cut and how it would feel. So I think that was a bit of a challenge, but it didn't really affect the way the fight happened or anything like that. I felt strong still, so yeah, next time I'm just gonna work on the weight and to make sure that I make it.
Another noticeable aspect of your fight, I mean, it's something that a lot of athletes, struggle with, particularly here in South Africa, is the issue of sponsorship. And I noticed you stepping into the cage and you didn't have a sponsor. You didn't have that luxury of having, a number of brands backing you, businesses, and obviously coming with that support is a little bit of financial support as well. Is there a reason why, for example, in your experience, you stepped into that cage, or let's call it athletes like yourself, young athletes like yourself, struggle to find sponsors?
Yes, I struggled to find sponsors. We tried to get some, or ask people that my manager tried to get for me, but at the end, we didn't get any. So but it is a bit of a struggle because now my mom is my sponsor, so I feel I feel bad for it because I know it's a lot of money and so on. But yes, hopefully I'll get some sponsors now after the fight.
I absolutely think you are going to definitely be in a position where you're going to have a couple of sponsors knocking on your door. I think the performance you put on was exceptional. Like I said, keeping it at range, keeping it standing up for the most part. Really sort of, using your kicks, using the jabs, using your stand-up more so than the ground game. Very, very surprised at how that fight panned out. And I absolutely hope that the sponsors just come bashing down your door. And when we see you early next year, that your kit's going to be lit up with all manner of sponsors and brands just wanting to be on board with yourself and with your team.
That would be nice. Yeah.
In terms of next year, 2022, obviously you now have a bit of time to look back on your fights, to look at what you could have done better. I mean, I suppose we sitting here as fans can look back and go, but you don't really have to do much better. You won on debut. I mean, maybe some small things you need to tweak and pick up on, but obviously you've looked at the fight again. There's a lots that you probably look back and say, can fix that, maybe add some onto that, do more of this, do more of that kind of thing. You've got about 3 months now to spend some time in that area. What's your plan for 2022? What can we expect to see from Dayne next year?
I'd like to fight March at the next FC if there's an opponent, and then I'd like to do like 3 or 4 fights maybe this year, and then maybe look for next year to fight for the title belt, if that is possible, and everything goes according to plan. But yeah, I'm looking forward to fighting again and just keeping the win record. Yeah.
If you, I mean, here you've got a platform. What would your advice be to women wanting and looking at you, looking at your performance and thinking, I don't really want to do that, or I'm just too nervous to do that? What would your advice be to young ladies, young women like yourself that are interested in MMA, wanting to get into it, but just not too sure how to make that first step? What would you say to them?
I think just to take the step, to just put everything on the line and just try. I feel like there's a 50-50 chance you can either do it, and there's 50% chance of succeeding, or you can not do it, and then yeah, it's like a 0% chance. So that's how I approach it. But I feel like if you have a team that kind of backs you as a female fighter, I think it really does help so much, to have that support and people who do understand and treat you still with respect, but then still obviously training hard with you and not treating you softly. So I feel like that really does also help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. I mean, having the backing of a good team, obviously in your case, you've got the backing of your chief sponsor, Mom, making sure that everything is sorted out. But having that good backing, but I suppose we also need to grow the sport. We need to grow the women's divisions. We need to get them to be deeper, to allow athletes like yourself to fight more often, because if there's only really 2 or 3 opponents for you to fight, we can't expect to see you fighting 3-4 times next year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And in terms of the other female fighters in the amateur ranks that you've fought over the years, I mean, you obviously know them. You obviously speak to them every now and again. Probably not the best of mates, but you guys obviously talk. I mean, is there a lot more talk in the amateur ranks about a lot more amateur female fighters stepping up to become professional?
I'm not sure about like the girls I've fought. I haven't really spoken to them, so I'm not sure like how they are doing and if they are going to step up to the pro circuit. So I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. Well, Dayne, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great getting to know you a little bit better, get to meet you, chat with you. Wish you all the best in your training. Have a great festive season. Relax, rest, and then obviously, I obviously assume that early next year you're going to be back in the gym, looking to lay some decent kicks and punches on the likes of Dani and Asiashu. All the best, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully at the next EFC event in March.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you.